Okay, let's take a great posture. We all deserve it, don't you think? It's been a hell of a week. I mean, I'm sure for all of you, it's been a relaxing, self-careful week with very little going on other than repeated facials and, whatever you call these. But for me, it's been a hell of a week. Let's take a good posture and take a good breath. And with respect and friendliness to ourselves, to our loved ones, to one another, let's give it away. So I don't really know where to start. This is my favorite subject in the world. I love it so much. And I feel like it's almost the opposite of self-care, reading this first chapter. And I'm not one of those like dime store bloggers, actually I am, but I'm not one of those like dime store bloggers who's like, Maitri is the opposite of self-care. Self-care sucks. I think self-care is super important if it means taking care of yourself. But if you read that first chapter, there's a bunch of moments in there where you're like, this is the opposite of self-care. So if you didn't read it, or if you don't know what I'm talking about, I will reread parts of this. This is a really short first chapter. So if you haven't read it, you are not very far behind. You're probably like 108 words behind. It takes like 4 minutes to read it. So don't get into your like procrastination, habitual patterns of guilt tripping yourself while falling further behind. This is incredibly short. The first chapter is titled Loving Kindness. What is loving kindness? What's another word for loving kindness? Anyone? Anyone? Like that guy? Anyone? Maitri. All right. There's a common misunderstanding among all the human beings who have ever been born on the earth that the best way to live is to try to avoid pain and just try to get comfortable. I'm guilty of that. You can see this even in insects and animals and birds. All of us are the same. A much more interesting, kind, adventurous, and joyful approach to life is to begin to develop our curiosity, not caring whether the object of our inquisitiveness is bitter or sweet, to lead a life that goes beyond pettiness and prejudice and always wanting to make sure that everything turns out on our own terms, to lead a more passionate, full, and delightful life than that. We must realize that we can endure a lot of pain and pleasure for the sake of finding out who we are and what this world is, how we tick and how our world ticks, how the whole thing just is. If we're committed to comfort at any cost, as soon as we come up against the least edge of pain, we're going to run. We'll never know what's beyond that particular barrier or wall or fearful thing. So I could just wind up reading the whole chapter to you and then you'd all be caught up. But we search for comfort. That on some level is self-care, right? I think self-care is important in 2022 because so many of us are run ragged. And the radical notion that we could sit in a bath with Epsom salts and nice lighting and read something or do something pleasant and not push ourselves is important. But at the same time, I just interviewed Jason Gaddis. I don't know if any of you saw that conversation yesterday. Katie did, one of us. So he was talking about relationships and how being curious is kind of the key to getting through conflict, right? With conflict, we kind of arm ourselves and we shut down, right? We're seeking to avoid pain very quickly. I said to him, conflict in relationship and communication reminds me of that scene in Matrix where Keanu Reeves says, I need guns, lots of guns. And it goes, and there's all these guns. And for me, that's, when a conflict starts, I immediately marshal every little thing that she has done wrong or where I have not been fully, deeply honored in the proper way. And I'm ready to bring all of that up. And on some level, that's healthy. We want to communicate fully. But on another level, it's just a barrier. It's just protection. It's just rigid. It's stress. Instead of being curious as to why or how I offended her, or even curious about why I got offended. So Maitri, the fruition of Maitri isn't that we're relaxed and soft and kind and all these things, which it does do. The fruition of Maitri, what does she say the fruition of Maitri is? Anyone? Rasha?
I think from what I understood is it's honesty and the willing to like show up even when you're feeling unkind.
I think that's all good, but she says one thing is sort of the fruition of Maitri. It's like, maybe it's the telltale sign of Maitri, not the fruition, because I think you're right about that. Anyone? No? Playfulness. That we don't take our own problems so seriously because they're no longer so solid. Rasha knows, many of you meditate here, that when you meditate, your problems stop being solid. It's not that they go away, but we stop taking them super seriously. We actually can have a sense of humor or a sense of gentleness about ourselves and about others. Playfulness. I really love that. I think I read that. I don't think I made that up. Did I make that up? Okay, great. So if you find yourself becoming a little bit more gentle or playful about your own situation or your own life or your own conflicts with others or yourself, you know you're on the right track. Just like in meditation, when you start meditating, any of you ever find your body just open up, like it starts opening up, and your breath, you have like almost a big sigh, like, and it's not deliberate, right?